Welcome back, Shaman King fans, to another episode of What's the Difference, where I compare the various different media adaptations of a specific series, namely comparing the Shaman King manga to his 2001 anime series to his 2021 anime series. And we've really gotten into the weeds of where the original anime had no real content that was adapted from the manga, whereas the newer anime is very deep into manga content. In fact, in terms of the original anime, the closest you could really get to anything that compares to what we'll be going over today in terms of the manga and newest anime's newest episode would honestly just be episode 60, although it probably would have been episode 56, as that is Hao's more direct attack on the X-Laws, but I made reference to that last episode, and a big part of it is when Lyserg manages to take on Lakist, at least for a little bit, and manages to actually outdo him and outmaneuver him, and that would be episode 60, friend. So not much to really cover in terms of the original anime, but in terms of the manga and 2021 anime, we'll be picking up in the final chapter of volume 24, that's chapter 215, Nerves of Steel, and we'll be picking up with episode 39 of the 2021 series titled The Summit. So strap in, strap on, and let's jam. Opening up with Marco and So going at it, clashing angels, cool Transformers Angels battle. Yo and Lyserg, well, mostly Lyserg's just not sure if he can actually do anything about this situation. They cut out a little bit of Lyserg's fear, as he's just like, they are two people who just have so much more power than he does. Now he kind of starts to give into despair without even actually trying. And so he starts to think maybe Lady Jean can do something about this. But Yo already knows what Lakist is up to. But because he knows that Lakist is not actually giving it his all. They cut out the fact that Yo knows this because he clashed a little bit with Marco. And he knows that Marco is actually a little bit better than he is. But Lakist, he's nowhere near trying. Lakist is basically just playing around, but he's not going all in. And he knows this because he must have mental nerves of steel because of constantly being around Hao. He knows that Lakist is reserving his power, and that's because he's going to try to take out Lady Jean. And if Lyserg were to call for help, that would be playing into his hand. They cut out a lot of Lyserg's inner turmoil, which I think was something that they probably shouldn't have cut out, because that was Lyserg's thing in the manga. Whereas in the original anime, they made it more that Lyserg was consumed by a lot of his own fury. But the manga, Lyserg's thing was always that he was kind of consumed by his own lack of knowing what to do. He was always kind of lost. He was always kind of befuddled with which direction he should take things. But Lyserg is at a loss because he's just like, why would Lakist want to kill Lady Jean? How is that cleaning up things? How is Lady Jean Marco's masterpiece? But Yo still wants to help out Marco. And this has always been Lyserg's problem, is that once he sees that there's not enough power to win, he easily gives in no matter what. And we get this nice little hug between Yo and Lyserg, just trying to confirm to him that we can do this. We can find a way out of this situation. And so Yo and Lyserg go in to try to save Marco, thus ending the chapter. And then you get into volume 25, that's chapter 216, Angel Bait, which kind of sounds dirty. Yo goes in with the Spirit of Sword, is easily deflected by Lakist, who just doesn't understand. It's just like, shouldn't we technically be on the same side? I'm trying to get you back into the shaman fight. Getting rid of the X-Laws is what will help with that. And Yo's just like, no, that's not what I want. So neither can really understand the other's point of view on this. And I love this moment. They did great with the art. very much matching it up to how it looks in the manga of Yo just being like, no matter what, I want to become the Shaman King. See, that's the funny thing. As the manga goes on, you see Hiroyuki's art becoming more and more refined, and that's a lot of the art design that the anime took. The downside still being that I wish they had managed to get some of the animators from the original anime in on the series. That really could have elevated the series. And while Lakis is just like, aye, that's a very good way of looking at things, but also foolish. You think I can't harm you just because you're Hao's little brother? No. Angels have the power to shatter souls, so I will crush your spirit ally. And Yo uses the shamanic oracle. There's a lot more detail to the fight you don't really get to see in the anime. There's a lot more clearer in the manga. And you get a hint to the true nature of Lakis Lucifer and why it's so fast, as Lakis visualizes acceleration on a road, almost like shifting gears, and then he appears right behind Yo, which doesn't happen once but actually kind of twice, as Yo tries to go in for another attack, but is easily countered and has his giant blade grabbed by Lakis Lucifer. As Lakis Lucifer goes in to smash it, Yo is enveloped by Shamish, and we see Iron Maiden Jean. So Lakis thinks that Lyser called for her, but we find that it's actually Yo's dad's two spirits. This was all a plan to kind of throw Lakis off, ending the chapter, and then we end up in chapter 217, Comeback Execution. And it's Lakis' true goals, as he sought this girl out in order to find a way to crush Hao one day, an orphan girl who just had an iron will and a great amount of power, and he feels it's his duty to execute her since he sought her out and found her. But then we find out that Lakis knows this isn't the real Iron Maiden Jean because she has no shadow. So he thinks it's a fake Jean and a fake Shamish. They kind of cut out the fact that Lakis knows because this was the same trick that was played on Marco. Just literally earlier, Lakis was watching. So Lakis wants to crush Lyserg as a lesson for Yo. And Lakis knows that Zuriel doesn't have the power to accelerate as fast as Lucifer, so he'll go in and easily crush Lyserg, only for it to be revealed that, oh no, this was also a spirit, and the Shamish behind Yo is actually the real Shamish. They do cut out the fact that Yo was actually kind of freaked out as he thought Shamish was actually going to kill him, which that's unfortunate. They really do cut out a lot of jokes and comedic moments. And then Lyserg used Zuriel to get Jean, and thus revealed the Iron Maiden was actually a double trap. It was a really complex plan, honestly. Like, they actually used the fact that Lakis was smart enough to see through an obvious ploy and use that to their advantage. It was literally because he was so smart. So bam, Lucifer is destroyed, and Lakis has his energy crushed because he inserted all of his energy into Lucifer. A truly impressive defeat. Apparently Lucifer consumes a lot of energy. They also cut out a lot of Yo and Lyserg's discussion about what to really do with Lakis. It's just like, can't leave him here. Maybe we should take his gun, but Yo doesn't really want to do that. It's just like, yeah, it's probably fine. Then we enter into chapter 218. It's a supercar, where now they know that Jean was actually just an ordinary girl with a lot of power, but not some god. But then you also see the true form of the angels, which is supercars, these cherished objects that have gained a kind of sentient, which was always weird to me. It's just like these angels are made up of literal spirits of cars that were cherished a lot. One thing they do leave out in the anime is that the car is actually a Lamborghini Contic LP400, Lakis' treasure, and Marco is Michael, which is actually a 1992 Ferrari Testarossa, and Jean was just an ordinary girl, and Marco is a CEO. He sold supercars, traveling all over the world. He got financial assistance from Lakis and was able to build his own company and it steadily grew. And their dream was to one day sell their own cars, and then Hao just showed up and destroyed everything. Like, it's still foreign to me why he did that. Was it just because of their passion? And what? It just always made me question. It's just like, why did he just show up and ruin their lives? Like, Marco was a car dealer, a very profitable car dealer. And this was pointed out to me by a commenter during my live reaction of this episode. Commenter called Needlefrick, and he was just like, yeah, Marco, he mentions he had children in the anime, but no, it's that Marco's home wasn't an orphanage. He had stayed there a lot of time. He had financed it, I think. Over time, he considered it his home, and for some reason, Hal burned down the orphanage, killed the children, everything Marco cared about. Marco really cared a lot about the kids there, and that was what spurred Marco on. The death of those children, the death of his home. And it also helps me to really understand why Marco just couldn't understand why Laquise went along with Hal. Like, after what he did, like, Hal destroyed everything that Marco held dear, even children. But Marco has just kind of lost everything, and they cut out in the anime Marco's existential crisis is like, is there any rhyme or reason to pebble strewn about this planet? No truth is indifferent to good or evil. People assign meanings to things because it makes them feel better, that's all. Like, Marco is literally just completely broken at this point. So he just tells Lyser, yo, just do whatever you want. The X-Laws are finished. He apologized to Jean, Dinbat, Lucky, Puff, Mina, Kevin, Vinstar, and Lyserg. The one thing that always gets me is the fact that he's just like, yeah, Lyserg, your copy of Jean was excellent, but the one thing you forgot was the keyhole in her chastity belt. That's the most important part. Like, what? And they cut out the part where Yo was going to use the Spirit of Sword in order to swat the gun out of Marco's hand. But ultimately, it was Jean who ends up stopping her. And Marco tells her, you don't have to act like a holy girl anymore. But Jean tells him, this is what I feel in my heart. I've accepted what I am, but I still believe in our mission. He still believes that, Marco was like the Archangel Michael who descended on the land where she came from. She still feels like it was, what's the word? Destiny. Says laws are still needed in the world, and she just wants them to stay together, no matter what. And Marco is taken so aback. It's just like, she truly is a holy girl. Such kindness. And she never says, you helped us this time. And though we may still be enemies, we'll settle our differences in the shaman fight. And Marco now truly believes in the ways of the X-Laws now. And thus, we go into the next chapter, chapter 219, The Summit. And thus we pick up with Anna being a little pissed off that so many people are at the dinner table this time. Well, Laquise feels that everything should be fine since Yo is back in the shaman fight, but Marco isn't too happy about Laquise's attempt on Jean's life, and then they get ready to throw down. And so Marco is offered some chocolate, and then he asks Dinbat for some chocolate. But it's obvious the rest of the X-Laws aren't too pleased with the lies they were fed about Jean being a holy mother. And Marco takes full responsibility. But then Jean takes the responsibility upon herself, wanting to take the X-Laws in a new direction, something that all of the X-Law men can get behind. They do cut out Horo actually kind of digging on Iron Maiden Jean, and a lot of the other comedic moments. A little bit of Choco Love, a little bit of Pareka, a little bit of Ryu, a little bit of Faust, the X-Laws doing the X symbol again, Opachao also wanting to do the X symbol. Laquise is even kind of happy to be hanging out with Marco again. It gets so bad that Anna just beats everyone up because they're being too rowdy. So honestly, they just, again, cut out a lot of the slapstick. Ultimately tells everyone this is kind of like a summit, and he tells everyone like it is. It's just like, Hao is going to win the shaman fight. Like, his mana is way too high. There's no way to stop him. And so Hao's just like, Ren's just like, what are we fighting for then? And Yo tells him, this is information that, comes from the Asakura household. Has information from Hao himself that Silva could confirm. There's a purification ritual ritual for the winner of the shaman fight, where they fall into a coma and to become one with the Great Spirit. And that's the optimal time for everyone to strike. And while Horo think that's a little sneaky, but Lucky East is just like, well, I'm here, and Hao is already aware of this plan. It's a normal part of the shaman fight. Eliminate the king and a new king must be chosen. That's why the 10 patch officiants are there, in order to prevent someone from taking that role of Shaman King. That's also why Hao has all of his minions. He's been gathering since he was reincarnated. It makes a lot of sense why Hao has all these followers who are, very strong, but still, not as strong as he is. But it builds the point of why he gathers such people. It's just like, yes, Hao on his own is so powerful, but he still needs somebody in his corner to some degree. But Lyserg wonders if that's the way the whole tournament works. But, Lyserg questions, but if that's even a possibility, what's the point of the tournament still? If there's such a risk of undoing the whole entire tournament. And then Anna explains, not anybody can really walk into that sacred land. Only few chosen shamans can go there. The 12 people from the 4 teams that advance to the next level of the shaman tournament, which explains why the brackets are laid out in such a weird manner. And it's going to be those people who are able to advance further. Various matches have been going on as everything else has been going. And the next match, which is going on today, is one of Gandhara's teams up against Team the Ren. So basically saying that Team the Ren still has to win their shaman fights in order to even get remotely close to taking down Ren and usurping him. But it also means fighting the patch. But Haruhoro does have a good question, which is, even if they defeat Hao, who gets to be king then? Does that mean they have to fight all over again? There's a lot of questions that Horo actually has that make a lot of sense. Why is there such a limited number of shamans who can get into the Holy Land? Why can't they just force their way in? What's to stop them? But they still have to face off against Gandhara, and they don't know anything about them. And Chocolove doesn't have any information because, he only saw Ryu when he was revived, and he only spoke with Sati in the afterlife. But after that, they have to face off against Yo. So no matter what, they still have to consider fighting Yo and his team, and Ren wants to win no matter what. Gandhara just a stepping stone. So we're back to the shaman fight after a long time. Team the Ren versus, it's easier to say their English name, Wisdom Kings, and Ren can always see how tough they are, but he doesn't have any fear because he's already looking ahead of them. He tells Chocolove and Horo to stand back, and he goes in on the attack. And thus we go into chapter 221. I skipped over chapter 220, I Must Win, but 221 is A Lotus in the Mud. But Ren goes in on the attack to test them out, but Ren feels no resistance of this attack and notices that Team Gandhara are completely unfazed. He has no way of knowing how they avoided his attack, so he goes in for who seems to be the weakest one, only for his weapon to completely disappear. And this one guy, Yanagi, is just like, you did suss out that yes, I am the weakest of my team. And you see the giant Buddha palm that slaps Ren away, and this is his spirit ally, Kundali, and he is far stronger than Ren. It has the palm of salvation, the ability to dissipate mana, the ability to brush away oversouls, basically. Yanagi was going to push Ren out of bounds, but Ren managed to hold in thanks to his oversoul, and Ren knows that he might not know what he's able to do, but he'll soon understand it. Ren looking like a badass. And Yanagi starts talking trash to Ren, and Horo's not pleased. He's just like, hey, Ren's got this, we're just waiting our turn. And for them, they know that this means that Ren thinks he's got this, that he could take care of as many of you guys as possible. So Yanagi tells his allies, Kandu and Jackson, back off, so he'll take him on himself. And Ren's ready to throw down. This is just a bump in the road for him. And there we have it. So 7 chapters covered during the course of all of this. They're still breaking through these chapters at a breakneck pace, but they are covering a lot of content, only choosing to leave out the comedic moment. But there's still the question of whether or not that's a good thing. But we're inching further and further towards the end of the manga. But I still have to question whether or not they'll be able to pull off a satisfying conclusion. I'm still under the belief that how the X-Laws were dealt with in the original anime was actually better. A lot better. It felt a little bit more like a bit of a conclusion to them because they had lost the majority of their members. Jean lost her spirit. Shamish, they were pretty much done. There was nothing really more that the X-Laws could really do against How at that point. And they kind of had to pin all of their bets and expectations on Lyserg, which, if I remember correctly, kind of happens in the manga too. It's just a little bit more satisfying. And I guess you could compare Team the Wrens facing off against this team from Gandahara to when they face off against Lady Nyoren's team in the original anime, but kinda to a certain degree, I guess you could say. We'll check in on that next episode, but tell me your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you like this video, leave me a like, hit the bell, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'll see you on the next episode of What's the Difference. Until then, bye-bye.